So, boys and girls, the divorce is final. It is over. So let's make today a celebration. She doesn't object to any of it. She literally just wants to talk to her pretty internet friend, and she's swallowing up everything. You talk about someone getting played. Keanu is case A of this. It's textbook. You could almost teach it in school. It's remarkable. I was talking to my dad yesterday because now that, gold diggers are out of my life. My dad and we're best pals again. Mm-hmm. And we were talking yesterday, and I was telling him, I said unironically, I go, she was only really happy with me or bragged about me after I had spent a bunch of money on her. And he goes, wow, it's almost like somebody tried to warn you about that. It's almost like I kind of saw that in her. And that was one of his complaints. He's like, I think she's only in this because you got the radio thing. And, he goes, she works at a factory, and I think she's kind of gold digging. And that pissed me off. And my dad and I had a falling out. But he did kind of turn out to be right.
Yep.
Your dad.
I'm sure he feels like a real piece of shit for saying what he said with the way everything's gone.
Not really at all.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But then he goes, we're all taking bets on you. You're going to be engaged again by December. You'll do it again. That the most money Keanu made on a stream was like $40. And it was a show where she just talked about us endlessly. And that no show she did without mentioning Steel Toe made over $30. Thank God you got a rich dad, honey, because you ain't making it on your own. Ooh, I seem to really clash with people who are dependent on their parents. That just seems to be a thing with me where we just loggerheads,
So, but I thought her streams always did really well. Weren't they doing well before?
75 people. Is that all right?
Well,
60 sometimes. And then when she does Steel Toe, she gets maybe 190, maybe. Yeah. Aim high, Mighty Mouse. Sorry. The people who saw her high on coke on stream and high on Molly on stream, that's hard to hide, Like those clips where she's zooted out of her Ford are pretty hard to hide. Those were awkward shows for me. Because I'm looking at her and she's leaving 8 times during the show, and she comes back and she's all geeked up and, grabbing on me and everything else. And I'm like, I'm kind of like with my eyes, I'm just going, you're not being coy. Like, you're not being subtle here. Jesus. Not even the grabbing me. I just mean the general, like the roll in the eyes and the looking up and the, being crazy and nasally. Like she comes back and she's plugged up. You're like, like, I can't keep lying for you like this. Honky says Keanu shutting up like a clam when the Viking dude super chatted about Cumia's abuse facts was the best thing to ever happen on her show. Yeah, she tried to do the steel toe thing. You got to give credit to Patrick Melton. He's the best who does it. He just rolls with shit. Although his chat makes him lose his mind too. But when that Viking guy just brought up a fact, and that pissed Anthony off too, and then Anthony comes after me, I'm like, bro, all I did was mention an apples to apples comparison. Again, don't make allies, because if you're someone who speaks truth to power or just truth in general, or you tell it like it is like I do and you don't really care about tact, don't make allegiances on the internet, because you got to be ready. If you're going to tell it like it is, you got to be ready with somebody at any given time. And when I just simply brought up the fact, not even shitting on the guy, I'm like, this guy actually had a court case and an allegation, which I've never had in my life, and he pled guilty to beating a woman, to biting a woman. And you're fine with him, and he's good. Tell me I've never had any charge. This is vindictiveness. This is horseshit. And you're treating it like it's fact when this person never even accused me of anything abusive. Nothing in those texts says that. And you're going to sit there and stand in judgment of me while you go on shows and say, oh, yeah, I still do coke, by the way. Well, that makes a lot of sense, actually. But like,
that's
and then
not
and
a
then
good
that
admission.
And then that
for,
and then
like changing sides, not to interrupt. Changing sides all of a sudden, because I vividly remember clips of, like, I don't know necessarily Keanu, but Gino almost yelling into the camera about how the lifestyle they were leading was dumb, and they need to get out of there, needed to stop that for their own sanity and safety and all that stuff. it's really weird to suddenly flip onto the other side.
Yeah.
And then just go, yeah, and I'm actually okay with people doing coke once in a while. Well, now we
Right. It's
now
like
we get why one side's okay now.
right. They're all
right.
still doing that. Like, it's just sad to watch people enable like that and just lie. I mean, I guess they can all lie to each other. It's hard to tell the truth, man. It's hard to be honest with yourself. It's easy to be honest about other people. Hard to be honest with yourself. And some people aren't capable. There are such unfortunates. But yeah, when that MN Vikings dude super chatted about that Cumia thing and she shuck up, I was like, oh, this ain't gonna last. She ain't cut out for this. If that shit shakes her up, if that rattles her and makes her go hamana 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 hamana, yeah, sorry, this ain't for you. This ain't for you. Honky says, not gonna lie, genuinely, I liked her. She brought a quirky, naive, yet inadvertently based take on the show. The mask dropped when the coke started. Well, it changes people, dude. It changes people. McBuster says the one stream where Nick is trying to put his tongue in your ear in his studio seems like you are both on Molly or something. No, you can see in that clip that my eyes are straight, everything's good, and the people around me are being a bit junky-ish, as it were. There was only one time I had edibles at my own house. And I was with Kayla that day. And I had some edibles, and I was feeling like a weird kind of hangover kind of feeling the next morning. That's about the worst I ever had it. And that was one time. So, yeah, that's about the worst. You know, that's about the worst I had it, but oof. Yeah, McBuster says there are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They are naturally incapable of grasping a life that demands rigorous honesty. I may or may not go to a place where that word is read every single week. And when I read that line, I do think of Nick Rekieta. I'm like, yeah, this guy would never be able to get clean. He's incapable of being honest with himself. And if you can't be rigorously honest with yourself, you're never going to get better. Richard Christovsky with $5 says Chrissy and Gino are still kissing his ass after he sold them out. He didn't sell them out. He just overpaid them for years. Like, Anthony was really generous to all of those people. He overpaid people he didn't need that weren't drawing money, and he did it for years. And then he was like, he by his own admission, he was putting $50,000 a quarter into his business of his own money. But Anthony's not a boss, and he doesn't have it in him to fire people. He can't do it. These are his drinking buddies. So he said, Gavin, let's merge. Gavin loves firing people. And so he just had Gavin do the dirty work.
Gavin gets off on it.
Gavin, well, he's good at it, man. He really is. He really is. Like, Gavin's really good at running businesses. He's always lost his businesses because he would say something in the media or publicly.
Right. He's lost his businesses because of cancel culture.
Right. Annoyed Wawa supervisor says, I'm not one to pat myself on the back, but I also said that Keanu was York County garbage from the beginning. If I wanted A cups and a fake disposition, I'd just watch Bonnie McFarlane. Hey, take that back, Bonnie McFarlane. Packer Backer says, not total, $50K of his own cash. That means he's been in the red for years. Well, he said 3 months later, they asked him for another $50,000 to put into the business.
So he put 50 in, and then 3 months later, they wanted another 50.